Let me put you on the spot, Mr. Falana. If you are to advise the government of the day on how to restructure this country in the face of the Constitution of Nigeria, how do you think they can go about it?
You see, Section 2 of the Constitution provides that Nigeria shall be a federation. So it's not, those are not my words. So even though the Constitution, I'm talking of Decree 24 of 1999, otherwise called the 1999 Constitution, says this is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not a unitary state as we have now. And that is why, in order to restore the federal spirit, in order to restore Nigeria as a federal republic, we must go back to where we were by 1966, when the military adventurers or political adventurers turned the country into a unitary state. And what was the position? Each region, what you might now say, each state was in charge of its own affairs. There was devolution of powers, and for resources produced in your state, you were entitled to 50% derivation. And of course, the remaining 50% goes to the general pool. And that allowed the leaders of the First Republic, I mean starting from about 54, to implement policies funded not through oil, agriculture. And so if we are going to take this country back, well, we must find out where we're coming from to know how to move forward. We must now go back to the 1963 Constitution, and then, as the National Conference of 2014 did, make recommendations, and there were 600 of them. We can now look at them one by one. I think good enough. The Senate has asked for the report of that conference.
That's in good spirit?
A very good spirit. And if the presidency does not produce it, I think some of us can make the report available. So that the National Assembly, which again is trying to amend the Constitution to reflect the recommendations.
So they can't take all of the report of the confab.
No.
There will be a need for referendum.
No, they cannot take all.
But they can infuse it into the amendment.
Oh yes, some of them, you know, I mean, for me, the most important recommendation is that Chapter 2 of the Constitution, the fundamental objectives, be made justiciable, so that every child in Nigeria will have access to health, access to education, unemployment benefit when you have no jobs. Those are the provisions of Chapter 2, which all the delegates unanimously agreed should be actualized.
Okay. Mr. Falana, your advice to the government of the day, which of course one would think that must be an urgent step. But on the issue of the debate, there are a lot of comments here on social media, and based on what people were saying, I wanted to react to this, and I wanted to end the conversation here on this program. The spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas, did address a press conference on Saturday, and I want Mr. Falana to react to that. Let's take a listen to him now.
It is very misleading and calculated mischief to simply say that 5 billion was taken from the budget for second Niger Bridge. The truth is that in the 2016 budget, 12 billion was appropriated for the second Niger Bridge, and not a kobo was spent by the ministry. I repeat, not a kobo. The money was returned. The ministry could not provide the committees of the National Assembly with evidence of an agreement on the public-private partnership or a contract for the second Niger Bridge. Also contained in the budget of the Federal Ministry of Works, Power and Housing is an omnibus allocation of 20 billion. The details were not provided by the minister. The National Assembly will be irresponsible to appropriate funds that are not tied to specific projects. Mr. Fashola pushed hard to have the lump sum of 20 billion approved for him without specifying which project it will be spent on. He wanted the details to be left only to him to decide at his discretion. The National Assembly refused to do this and inquired the right of the Almighty Minister.
That's the spokesperson of the House of Representatives. We have about a minute to go on break. Mr. Falana, if you conclude your thoughts on the issue of the budget and this conversation, what would be your reaction to that statement from the spokesperson of?
No, with profound respect, there is no way you can put 10 billion or 20 billion without specifying. That would not be budgeting, because Section 81 is talking of details of the estimate and expenditure. So you can't have an omnibus figure. So if that was done on the part of the executive, it was clearly against the law of budgeting and budgeting. So again, that is where the National Assembly is empowered by Section 81 to scrutinize the budget and make sure you do not have omnibus provisions or duplications and so on and so forth. But you can't rewrite the budget. That is the point.
Mr. Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, always a pleasure speaking to us. Social media is agog with some of the statements you made on the program. Always a pleasure having you join us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
A pleasure.
We're going to break, and when we come back, some thoughts on the executive-legislative relationship and also the way forward for Nigeria in the recent national unity debate. We take the conversation forward from here. Join us again.